The other day, I had in my show to Tomas Gonzalez Martin, as you know, a very close journalist to Florentino Perez with the best information possible regarding to Real Madrid. And right after, the next day we lost the Spanish Super Cup against Barcelona. He told me there will be changes implemented in the midfield of Real Madrid, and Toni Kroos and Luka Modric might be on the bench or not even in the squad list for the next game against Villarreal on Thursday. Villarreal on Thursday. So it was going to be 3 days later. He told me that on Monday, right? Well, in the game against Villarreal, Luka Modric wasn't on the squad list, right? And although Kroos was there 2 days later against Athletic de Bilbao, neither Modric nor Toni Kroos were on the lineup, which is awesome because this guy knows a lot of things regarding to Real Madrid. That's why I'm having him over every once in a while, right, to Tomas Gonzalez Martin. And I highly recommend his articles in El Debate in Spain, because this guy has been around, for 40 years or so. So he pretty much knows every single thing about Real Madrid. So now, what he also said is, watch out with Camavinga, because this player, once Toni Kroos and Luka Modric go to the bench, this player will take over for sure. Why? Because all the criticism surrounding Camavinga has been Toni Kroos and Luka Modric's fault. It's not like their fault, right? But the problem is, every time Toni Kroos and Luka Modric are old, right? And they are not ready, they're not in good shape to be all the time running back and forth during the 90 minutes of the game. Camavinga, however, is a different story. Ceballos is a different story. Tchouaméni is a different story. So every time they recover, they drop back and they recover the position. Something that Toni Kroos and Luka Modric are not ready to do. Why? Because they're old. So every time they lost the ball, right, the blame was for Camavinga, when in reality it was these guys who went and pushed through, and push up, and then when we lost the ball, they never dropped back. So it was Camavinga the only one to hold back to the rival, and then the blame was all the time for Camavinga, which was not fair at all. So once they went to the bench, we discovered a new different Camavinga and a new different midfield for Real Madrid, because Camavinga was being helped out by Ceballos. So when you have two young players like Camavinga, Dani Ceballos, and maybe Toni Kroos, or Tchouaméni, or Valverde, for example, it's a different story, because these guys are running back and forth all the time. They're super young. Their physicality is just amazing, right? So they can be running back and forth all the time. So that means Camavinga will have more portion of the spotlight. That's number one. He will drive through. He will drive the ball all around. He will circulate the whole game, right? And he will say, in the one who has to decide how to distribute the whole game, right, to the forwards. That's why it's so important, his figure on the lineup. So once he's covered and protected by two other players like Valverde and Ceballos, it's a different story, because he can afford to be pushing up all the time and get a little bit late to drop back, because he already has the protection from Dani Ceballos and, of course, Fede Valverde. You know what I'm saying? So we saw a very different Camavinga the other day. Ancelotti fell in love with Camavinga against Athletic de Bilbao and Villarreal as well, in spite of some mistakes and stuff. But this guy has a big potential, and apparently tomorrow against Atletico de Madrid, finally Camavinga will be there. Be careful though, because Toni Kroos and Luka Modric apparently will be alongside him, and we know what happens when they are surrounding Camavinga. So let's see what happens, man. But apparently Camavinga, this is great news, because Camavinga for the first time will be there right in the lineup, and in a very big game, in a very important game for us. And let's see how he performs, but I'm pretty sure he will do a great job.